the significance is that his arrest will now stand, which means that he has to face the remand which has been ordered by the NAB court, which is at this moment for 8 days. And then they probably come in with a request for extension to bring it up to 14 days, which is what the law enables, provided, of course, cogent reasons are given and accepted by the court for why they need him for another additional 6 days for their investigation. So that remains to be seen, but the effect clearly is that now he's been arrested, his arrest has been declared legal, and so the process moves forward. And the first step was to have him sent to NAB on remand so that the investigation could be completed. They said they needed him physically in their custody for the investigation, and it seems like that plea has been accepted for 8 days for now. Of course, that order has been appealed to the Supreme Court. We don't know what's going to happen there. But I suppose I would imagine some of the grounds would be that he's been arrested from the premises of the court, that his arrest warrants are not legal, that perhaps the inquiry report that ought to have been provided to him before the investigation would start, or this whole process would be converted to investigation from an inquiry. That wasn't done, and so on and so forth. Whether his arrest would stand or not, I think in all likelihood it probably will stand. I don't see too much interference now in the process until his remand is concluded and he can apply for bail. That's when the second chapter will start. Well, I think Imran Khan has a case to answer for. There's no doubt that this is a case which sounds a little bit like what he accuses others of, but it's at the investigation stage. I will not opine on whether the case on the merits will hold or not, but it is something that he needs to answer for. And I think, however, that answer has to come following a process of law. When people are arrested from premises of courts, when political leaders are arrested before a conviction, when political leaders are arrested when they're about to embark on some kind of campaign, which in this case Imran Khan had threatened in respect of getting his elections, then obviously there are suspicions about the arrest in respect of whether it's politically engineered or brought about to arrive at a desired political outcome. But he has a case to answer, which he should, and I would have preferred if he had been arrested to bring him to court so that charges could be framed against him and he could be indicted in cases where he's avoiding the process of law. But the way this has all happened, obviously, it kind of reminds us of how Nawaz Sharif was also arrested on charges of corruption at a time when we know that it was politically engineered to keep him away from the elections. This time it's a little different, and it's very interesting that it is, which is that at the time Nawaz Sharif was arrested, they immediately held elections. I think he was arrested on the 13th of July and elections were held on the 25th of July. Whilst on the other hand, it would appear that they're definitely in no position right now to hold elections in the aftermath of the arrest. So that's, I think, a very significant distinguishing feature here. I don't think that we are looking at elections anytime in the near future, not until they can cut up and break PTI to an irreparable degree. So that's not going to happen overnight. And I think the public sentiment at this point is not conducive to any anti-Imran Khan outcome in the election. So that's a significant difference from when Nawaz Sharif was arrested. Look, I think we're spiraling down further into chaos, which at this point is controlled chaos, which might become uncontrollable chaos. We're not sure. If we go by history, then this will be all sorted, controlled. Imran Khan will be disqualified, he'll be in jail, his party will be dismantled, there will be elections that he will lose. If that script is not followed, which has been the script for the past many decades, and there is going to be a change for the first time, then we are in unprecedented, uncharted territory, certainly. Will that happen? I think it's going to require a lot of wisdom and courage and strength from the PTI voters and supporters at a time when I think that they will be severely under the gun. Will they have the wherewithal, the strategy, and the courage to stand up and fight here? I don't know, because they will be facing unprecedented pressure that I don't think that they're accustomed to. And we have seen that whilst Imran Khan has done really well in Jalsas and certainly in by-elections recently, he hasn't met with the same kind of support in what is obviously much tougher, which is to bring people out when there is resistance, when there is tear gassing, and people, police beating up protesters. And in this case now, the army is being called out. And we've seen very surprisingly, to a degree, I think at least, that yesterday, singularly, the anger was almost aimed singularly at the establishment as opposed to political rivals, which were pretty ancillary as far as the emotions were concerned. I think that was very surprising how clear this divide is, and how Imran Khan has managed to put this enormous gulf between the people of Punjab in particular and the establishment. So that for me was quite telling and quite surprising, because when it came out and kind of you could see it, it was different from having speculated about it. And I think with that being the case, I think the armed forces being called in is obviously a pretty strategically smart of the federal government. So now it's going to be the army in front of the people that support PTI or vote for PTI or protest for PTI, as opposed to just the government, which is obviously on a weak footing right now with all the economic challenges also confronting them. So they're trying to share the burden here and kind of put the armed forces in front of them before the protesting people. But that could spiral out of control as well. So we're going to have to wait and see. We are definitely an uncharted territory. Will we be pulled right back to what we are used to, the 90s, and how Nawaz Sharif was dismantled politically and elections were stolen from him? Are we headed the same way with Imran Khan? What goes around comes around. Are we headed for the scale being balanced, or is this going to be different? We'll have to wait and see. Clearly it is. I mean, the sensitive places where the protests have taken place, and the nature that protest has taken, the emotions that have come out, especially the women. I think that what's really different about this protest is the participation of women. We have not seen this kind of gender balance, I think, in protests before. So I think that it's a very, very big change, because it really did surprise me how singular the emotion was. And I think that this is something that needs to be tackled. This is something that needs to be sorted out with great deft wisdom, I think. And I think the armed forces can do it, but they will have to be wise, not just strong. And I think that they'll have to be very deft and very subtle, and yet very, decisive about how they bring to an end this great emotion that they confront from a lot of people of the Punjab. Again, I think Punjab being very central here, that is what threatens to take us a little bit perhaps away and deviate from the historical trend, which is that the people of Punjab are on the streets. That's something that we haven't seen. And on the streets, and singularly angry at the establishment as opposed to political rivals, or only political rivals.